Here's your card, sir. Enjoy your stay. Luxurious hotel rooms, neatly folded sheets, clean and large bathrooms, but what if there was an extra visitor in your hotel room? Grab a blanket, turn off your lights, but we may not be sleeping in this room. Because this is room 237. A dark hand and the perfume ghost. A dark hand. It was the first time I stayed in a hotel as high quality as this one. It was in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I was there for winter break with my family. I was sleeping on the sofa bed, which was conveniently right across from the door on the other side of the room. I can't remember what night it was, but I woke up in the middle of the night and I had an odd feeling. I looked at the alarm clock next to me, and it was about 2:30 or 2:40-ish. I sat up and saw two shadows at the bottom of the door. This hotel was very old, and you could very well see the light from the hallway from below the door. It was obvious that it was somebody's feet. Then they disappeared. They didn't disappear one by one, so I am assuming that it jumped. I didn't really know what to make of it, so I made sure I wasn't dreaming. I saw a movement, what I thought was in the front of the door, and at the top of the door, where you could also see the light from the hallway, there was a little dark slit in the door. Then, there was a visible hand and part of a wrist that has gotten through the door. I was too shocked to scream, so I just laid back down and tried to fall back asleep. I honestly don't know what that was, so if somebody could explain this event to me, that would be great. And I forgot to mention earlier, this hotel used to be a hospital. I have talked to a lot of other people staying at the hotel, and a few of them have also seen paranormal activity throughout the hotel. The perfume ghost. This story was from one of the guests over at the same hotel that I was talking to. He said that it was about 2003. He was in the elevator, and for some reason at the third floor, the elevator doors opened and there was nothing there. He didn't think too much of it, so he just pressed a button and shut the doors and continued to go up to the 7th floor. He said that he then noticed a perfume smell that made the whole elevator smell like flowers. He said that he was a little weirded out by it, but didn't dwell too much on the smell. He thought that he had just failed to notice it when he first stepped into the elevator. Once he got to the 7th floor, he stepped out, and he could still smell the perfume in the hallway. He started walking, and he could still smell it. Then he was turning the corner to go right. The perfume smell seemed to go to the left. He then changed his course to go to the left of the hallway. Then this is when he started to wonder if it was a ghost wandering the hotel. So he jogged to see if he could catch up to the ghost. He did. Then he said that the smell all of a sudden just disappeared. So he assumed that it went through a wall. If you have any comments, please post them, and I'll most likely respond. The Coral Hotel. This happened 2 years ago when I was staying in Waikiki at the Royal Hawaiian with my family. This isn't a large haunting like many of the other stories on this website, though I find that it is wise to share the story, in case anyone else happens to come in contact with spirits in this hotel. At first, the vacation went normally without any sort of paranormal activity, but on the 4th day was when the first event occurred. I was laying in bed late at night watching television when suddenly the television turned off. I thought for a moment It may have been a power outage, since the television would not turn back on, but the lamp on my bedside worked perfectly. That's when I saw that the television had been unplugged, which is understandably odd. I thought at first maybe it hadn't been plugged in all the way, but those suspicions changed rather quickly. I plugged the television back in, but decided to leave it off and go to sleep. Before I go on any further with the story, I will say that my room had a door on the inside that led to where my grandmother was staying. Now I was about to fall asleep when I felt something tugging the covers back, and I thought it was my mother, who had returned from seeing an old friend. Then I realized I hadn't heard the door open. Then I heard small laughter that sounded like that of a child. That's when I opened my eyes and saw in the corner of the room beside my bed was a little boy in a sailor suit smiling at me. I was startled, but I didn't feel threatened by the spirit. The little boy disappeared a few seconds later. That isn't the only experience I had at this hotel, though none were as eventful as the little sailor boy. My second experience was when I saw a little girl in the hall as I was walking back up to my room after a long day of hiking. She disappeared nearly as soon as I saw her. I don't know if it was a trick of the light, but instinct tells me that the little girl was indeed a spirit. This sighting happened 2 days after the first one. The final sighting was 3 days after the second. I was taking pictures of the hotel. When I checked my pictures, I noticed something strange in the two of them. In one picture of the gardens, you could distinctly see the image of a Hawaiian woman in a red dress. She seemed to be walking. The other picture captured where you could distinctly see a person was one of a young woman sitting in a chair. She seemed very distant and sad. After that, I didn't have any other sightings in the hotel, though I did feel a strange presence. They weren't threatening, just curious. I believe that these spirits were people that had happy times at this hotel and returned to revisit this time in their life. If anyone happens to visit this hotel, watch for these spirits. You may indeed come in contact with them. Haunted Crescent Hotel in Arkansas. Last weekend, me, my husband, my brother, and his girlfriend stayed for 2 nights at the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. We booked room 101, which was Norman Baker's office when he ran a cancer hospital. The first night, we stayed up really late, and nothing happened in our room. We started to explore the hotel at around 3:30 a.m. We went and took pictures in front of the doors of some of the rooms we heard were haunted. I also took a ton of pictures in the hallways. I was catching orbs, but I wanted something more. I stood in front of 218 for about 45 minutes. Room 218 is supposed to be haunted by a ghost named Michael. The whole time I was standing there, I was talking to Michael, asking him to show me something or to play a joke or a trick on me. I didn't expect anything to happen, although my brother and husband were catching a lot of green orbs around me. We went back to the room, disappointed. Then something strange happened. I was getting into bed, and a deck of cards that was on the coffee table when we left was now under my pillow. I knew that someone could have been playing a trick on me, so I brushed it off, put the cards back on the coffee table in the other room, and went to bed. The next day, the 4 of us had a late start, so we refused the maid service and went downstairs shopping. We were thinking nothing of the deck of cards under my pillow until we came back into the room, and the deck had been dealt into 4 hands on the coffee table. We were all together downtown the entire time, and we didn't have maid service that day. The only reasonable explanation is that the hotel staff was messing with us. The problem with that is that the hotel makes a lot of money off the idea that they are the most haunted hotels in the US, and it would be a huge liability for them to try to fake it with their guests. At this point, we were a little spooked and skeptical. The four of us sat in the living room for a while, discussing the possible ways this could have happened. While talking about it all, I kept saying out loud that if there were any ghosts there with us, that I would like for them to show us something. I said I felt like one of the people with me was playing a joke. Also, while talking, my brother's girlfriend was rearranging the cards to put them back in the case so that if they were even moved, we would know. She put one joker on top and one joker on bottom. She put the deck of cards in the case back to the middle of the table. My husband was convinced it was hotel staff, so he booby-trapped the front door with an empty bottle of vodka. If somebody didn't know the bottle was there and opened the door, they would knock it over. We took tons of pictures so that we would know if the bottle had moved. That night, we went out for dinner and drinks. A few hours later, at around 11 p.m., we got back to the room. My husband unlocked the door slowly and reached just his hand around to take a ton of pictures before disturbing the bottle. What we saw was insane to all of us. And still a few days later, we are still trying to find a logical explanation. There was a row of cards spread out in the front of the door face down, with two jokers face up, while the rest of the cards were still in the case on the coffee table. No one had disturbed the vodka bottle. That night, we all wanted more proof. We wanted something to happen while we were in the room. Nothing did. That morning, my husband woke up even more skeptical since nothing happened while he was in the room. I was the last person in the bathroom before my husband went to take a shower, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. While he was in the shower, my brother, his girlfriend, and I went to breakfast. My husband met us down for breakfast about 30 minutes later and was a little upset that we were messing with him. He was accusing us of writing something on the mirror before we left the room. We didn't. The word save, S-A-V-E, was written on the mirror with a soap-like texture while my husband was in the shower. We all couldn't figure out how this all happened and don't know the significance behind the word save. I don't know if Michael was playing that joke on me, or if Norman Baker used to play cards in the parlor of his office. I would love to hear if anyone else had stayed in room 101 and has any experience of something similar at the Crescent.